Hello and welcome to another Game Dev Diary. It's been a couple months since I put the last video out. I wanted to give you guys an update of what I'm working on. So 2016 for me, all of 2016 so far has been how to convey elevation in my game. And I've gone through a whole lot of different iterations of how to make this happen, and I'm happier with each subsequent iteration. But every time it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Every time I decide that it needs to be changed again, it needs to be fixed, it's really discouraging because it has implications on how pathing and lighting and vision all work, and all the little subsystems, how you place items on the ground and all that. So while I believe it's the right direction to go in, it's hard on the morale of keeping going. So I wanted to put out so what I'm leading up to is I'm doing it again. I'm reworking the blocks again because I'm not happy with them. So I wanted to put this video out to share my journey of bumping into every little obstacle I possibly can on the path to building a good block system and foundation for the game. So there's 2 schools of thought. There's forget the block system and just get some gameplay. And I'm not doing that. And maybe I'm not doing that because I'm afraid of the gameplay, or, logically, when I try to explain it to myself, it's that I don't want to refactor tons and tons of content if I change, the function or the appearance of, how stuff works in the game. I feel like if I don't get the foundation right, I'm not going to be able to change the foundation. So that's why I've been struggling with it so much. If I build this whole game on top of something I'm not happy with, I'm afraid I'm just going to keep going down that path and not come back and correct it, because it'd be too much to change everything if there's a lot of content already built on top of the foundation. So anyway, I wanted to go through with this video and show you where we've been over 2016. You're going to see a lot of stuff you hadn't seen in the previous videos. I'm drawing a lot of screenshots from a journal that I keep. I keep a really thorough daily journal on what I'm working on, and I write a lot of stuff in there, and I take screenshots of every little thing, every weird looking bug. And I've been doing this for about 3 years now, so I'm drawing on a lot of those screenshots to show you where we've been, and a lot of the intermediate stuff you haven't seen before if you've been following the videos. So where we started, Game Dev Diary 1 through 10 was just a completely flat look. And the problem with this is it's hard to tell the difference between the walls and the ground. Now I think that specific problem could have been fixed just by changing how the walls were drawn. But in video 10, after I did water, I got really motivated to have, real elevation. So you're not just having, fixed, it's either a ground or a wall block. I wanted for it to be more granular than that. So that's when I started investigating how I could do hills and cliffs and all that sort of stuff. So there was an intermediate phase there where I was experimenting with how to draw these hills and cliffs, and they all looked terrible. They looked absolutely terrible. They got the job done of showing you sort of, where you could predict whether water was going to flow down that or not, that particular hill. But they look like garbage. So around video 11 and 12, I had gone to a look and feel that it was like slabs, like half blocks, and they all fit within a 2D grid. So that, but the constraint with that is you can't build up and up and up, because then you won't be able to predict the block based on where it falls in that 2D grid. It's a confusing way of explaining it, but basically what it meant is it looked better than those really ugly looking hills, but they had a lot of annoying elevation rules as baggage in the system, and I wanted something more freeform. So videos 13 through 16, we saw a more cube-like block, and there was no longer any restrictions on what blocks could be built on top of others, and there's no restrictions on how high you could build the blocks. But there were a few problems with this. One, it was hard to tell if you're looking at the side of a wall, if you couldn't see the shadows were. But the shadows were kind of weird in and of themselves. I had to have them completely functional to break up optical illusions, and they just didn't look very good. So I've gone to a new block system after this, and that's what I'm about to show you. But I wanted to try to explain why I'm taking 2 steps back again, and that's it's really hard to do that when you're working on this so hard and feeling like you're not making progress, feeling like you're on a treadmill. But the reason I'm going back and doing this again is because I really want there to be able to build a multi-story house, being able to go upstairs and downstairs, and this has implications on exploring caves and dungeons and crypts and all that kind of stuff. It really needs to be completely fluid in the way that elevation works. And I just didn't think that cube system from those old videos was going to cut it. So I want to show you now what I'm working on, and this is, again, it's 2 steps back. All I have implemented so far is pathing, and it's not very polished. But I want to show you where I'm at, and hopefully this time I'm not going to take 2 steps back. Get this thing off the ground. So here's the new block system. It's isometric blocks, which has been done in a lot of games before. And I have debug commands where I can add blocks, and you can build as high as you want, and you can remove blocks with the debug commands. Let me show you. Show block grid lines. I made it so that as you build upwards, the height of the block is not the same as the Y. I don't know how to describe it. This distance is not the same as this distance, which makes it so that it kind of breaks up optical illusions on its own, because as you build up, these blocks don't fit cleanly into the background. You can see as it goes up here, this gap between the blocks goes up slightly. So I thought that was a good touch to make sure that it doesn't there aren't too many optical illusions there. And I've got pathing working again. I'll show you the pathing. I don't have all the drawing just right, so there are situations where he walks behind something, but it doesn't look like he's walking behind because he's overlapping the block that should be overlapping him. And that's going to be a little bit complicated in this system to get just right. And it's also, the pathing's not very polished yet. He jerks around a lot while he's walking. Before I had freeform pathing, and now I'm doing cell-based pathing. And I have 4 cells, pathing cells. I have 4 cells per block. I guess some of the creatures will take up multiple cells at a time. Bigger creatures or whatever. So that's what I have, and I'm going back again to work through pathing and vision and lighting and all that. I think vision's going to be a really important thing, because I want this to be fixed perspective, no rotating the camera. So that's, it's going to mean that when you can only decorate the 2 back walls. You can't decorate stuff that's in front of you, and it'll mean that vision's really important, because I need to be completely hiding blocks or making them semi-transparent based on what the character can see. That way that you can actually see where you're going when you're behind the wall. But I think this has a lot more potential, and I want to note that there was somebody on YouTube that was saying I should do this, and I was arguing with them back around video 11, I think it was. I really wish I had taken their advice and gone with the ISO blocks, but hopefully I'm on the right path now. Thanks for being patient with me as I bump into every possible obstacle in the foundation here. And hope to put out a new video before 2 months next time. All right, see you.